As we continue, another question on water. This one for Mayor Nelson. A Waukesha bid for Lake Michigan water would require the approval of 8 Great Lakes states. Mr. Nelson, what is Plan B for Waukesha if the Great Lakes governors do not approve?
The study that was done by the 32 experts 8 years ago that we've been studying and discussing for 8 years, but really in depth the last year and a half, is that Plan B is shallow wells in Waukesha County. The problem with shallow wells in Waukesha County is that it would cost more than the Lake Michigan option, and it would not be as environmentally sustainable as recycling Great Lakes water. One of the reasons there's so much urgency in moving forward is this application process will take a year. It will take us 5 years to design, build, and implement a return flow pipeline. That's 6 years. That only gives us a year and a half if there are any legal challenges. A year from now, we will know whether or not we're successful with Great Lakes water. If we are successful, great, we'll move forward. If not, then we'll continue on the other track that we have been exploring for years. But part of this process is politics, and that's where I have used my political contacts with both parties to, number one, get the Great Lakes Water Compact passed. Number two, to work with Senator Colan and Representative Sensenbrenner to secure $3.6 million in federal funds, which has lowered our water rates. Been working for the last 2 years on a proposal with the senator and congressman that could get the city anywhere from $25 to $50 million, which would further help defer the costs. Ask yourself, do you want someone with those contacts and those experience that can help navigate this? Secretary Frank of our DNR and our governor are key people. I've worked closely with them for 4 years. In terms of convincing the other states and the other governors, our DNR and governor will be crucial, and I will certainly use those political contacts, as I always have, for the city's benefit. But we are positioned to do Plan B if that doesn't work. But all the research, all the studies, all the people that have seriously looked at this support moving forward now, finding the best cost-effective, environmentally sustainable option. And I think that I've answered the question on independence and sovereignty. If Milwaukee cannot negotiate an acceptable deal, I'm good friends with the mayor of Racine. We've talked a lot about options there. Dan Dukniak worked in Oak Creek. We have good connections there. We had to work hard to get those 3 letters, so that would be part of our application. And again, I find it interesting that my opponent has flip-flopped from saying, don't even consider Lake Michigan, to now saying it is an option because there's been such overwhelming support.
A minute to respond.
Yes. I've said all along that we should say no to Milwaukee attaching strings to the deal and wanting to charge us a lot more for our water. The current mayor has actually put us in a horrible negotiating situation with the city of Milwaukee. Since the beginning of his time in office, he has been very vocal about becoming one with Milwaukee. We as the citizens need to be aware of this, okay? As far as Racine and Oak Creek, yes, those are possibilities. They're not very viable due to distance. Think about the length of the pipe and the cost of the easements that will be involved for that. The water utility has not come out with cost estimates. I suspect it's because they're off the charts due to distance. Lake Michigan water, if we're going to get it, will most likely come through Milwaukee.
A further question on water, and this has been touched on somewhat, but it may give the candidates a chance to elaborate. This is a question for Mr. Scrima. Mr. Scrima, numerous communities now purchase water from Milwaukee, including neighboring New Berlin. It doesn't seem that these deals have led to interference in local issues. Do you agree with that? And if so, why would Waukesha's case be different?
Yes, that's an excellent question. The communities that currently purchase water from the city of Milwaukee, many of them are on the east side of the subcontinental divide. Some of them straddle the subcontinental divide. New Berlin, for instance, they get the eastern portion of their water from Milwaukee, the western portion from wells. The city of Waukesha is a different situation. We are well on the western side of the continental divide. One of the first reports that came out said that Lake Michigan water would be most cost efficient if we did not have to return it. Now that we have to return it, it has doubled the cost. Furthermore, the resolution that Milwaukee passed in 2008 was passed after the agreements with those other communities were made. So this is something new that Milwaukee has unanimously approved and put on the books, the fact that they want to dictate our land use, our housing, our transit. There are still significant questions that have not been answered, and these are the questions as a citizen that I would like to have answered. Does Waukesha specifically know the amount of economic compensation that Milwaukee will require? Milwaukee is going to require a multi-million-dollar hookup fee. We don't know what that's going to be. It could be $10 million, it could be $50 million. Okay? Do we know exactly how much federal grant money we're going to receive? We don't. We might receive $0, we might receive $50 million. By the way, Milwaukee has a say in how much grant money we receive and where that grant money goes. Do we know what the final cost per gallon of water is going to be that they're going to charge us? They charge the other communities 25% more. Now they're trying to move it up to 36% more. People often reference the Public Service Commission as the one who regulates the water rates. That's true. However, it's important to remember that the Public Service Commission is appointed by the governor. Because it's politically appointed, it can be swayed by political winds. So and furthermore, when they tell us that the cost to hook up to Milwaukee is $164 million, in their own reporting, they say there's a 25% margin of error. Could be under $164 million by 25% or over. These are significant questions that have yet to be answered. If you didn't know somebody or you weren't too sure of somebody, would you give them the keys of your car to take you for a ride? You probably wouldn't. And that's the situation that we're in right now. We're being asked, the citizens are being asked, to basically give up the keys to our car and just go along for the ride and, don't worry about it. It seems strangely reminiscent to the national situation that we have with healthcare right now. Oh, let's just pass it, even though there's a lot of questions that have not been answered.